A man sits alone in a Paris study, late at night, in a robe the color of arterial blood, scarlet silk. It catches the single candle and seems to drink the light. Everything it touches, it flatters, and everything it touches, it also ruins. Because the moment he put it on, the desk beneath his elbow went shabby. The straw chair turned coarse. The walls, once friendly, now looked like the walls of a man who could not afford his own robe. He had been given a gift. What he received was a debt. Tonight, how one beautiful thing can quietly bankrupt you, and the dead philosopher who saw it coming 250 years ago. His name was Denis Diderot. In the 18th century, he was one of the most formidable minds in France, the man who spent 20 years editing the Encyclopédie, the great project that tried to hold all human knowledge in one set of books. He was brilliant. He was also, for most of his life, poor. A scholar's poverty, the comfortable kind, a worn dressing gown, a wooden desk scarred with ink, a straw chair that knew the shape of him. Then in 1769, a friend gave him a gift, a magnificent new dressing gown, scarlet, elegant, the kind of garment a man of his reputation ought to have owned all along. He threw out the old one, of course he did. Who keeps the rag when the silk arrives? And for a few days he was delighted, then something began to itch. He looked at his study, the same study he had been happy in for years, and for the first time he saw it through the eyes of the robe. The desk looked cheap, the chair looked like charity, the tapestry on the wall looked like a rag hung up to hide a crack. Next to the new gown, his whole life looked like an apology. So he replaced the desk, a fine one this time, to be worthy of the robe. But a fine desk makes a straw chair look absurd, so the chair went too, swapped for leather and Moroccan trim. The leather chair shamed the prints on the wall, so down they came, and up went better art. A cheap clock cannot sit beside fine art, a bare mantle cannot sit beneath a good clock. One by one, every object in the room raised its hand and said, "I no longer belong here." And one by one, Diderot answered them, with money he did not have. He later wrote about all this in a short, rueful essay. The title alone tells you the whole tragedy, Regrets on Parting with My Old Dressing Gown. In it he says the thing that should be carved above every shop door. He was, he wrote, the absolute master of his old robe, but he had become the slave of the new one. He had not bought a robe, he had bought a standard, and a standard is hungry. 2 centuries later, an anthropologist named Grant McCracken read that essay and gave the pattern a name. He called it the Diderot Effect, the tendency for one new possession to trigger a spiral of further purchases because we have a quiet, unspoken need for our belongings to agree with one another. We don't buy things, we buy consistency, and the most expensive thing you own quietly sets the price for everything else. You think this doesn't apply to you, you don't own a silk robe, let me show you yours. You buy a new phone, the old case won't fit, so a new case. The new phone deserves better sound, so new earbuds. The screen is so sharp that your 3-year-old laptop suddenly looks tired beside it. You buy the couch you've wanted for years, it arrives, and in the moment it lands in the room, it does to your living room exactly what the robe did to Diderot's study. Now the rug looks thin, the curtains look dated, the coffee table that was perfectly fine on Tuesday is, by Saturday, an embarrassment. You move into a bigger house, and the bigger house does not feel full, it feels empty. It demands to be furnished up to its own size. The house buys things now, you just sign for them. This is what the world calls lifestyle creep, the slow drift where every raise, every upgrade, quietly raises the floor beneath your feet, so you never feel any richer. It almost never arrives as one loud decision. It arrives as 100 small ones, each of them reasonable, each of them whispering the same word the desk whispered to Diderot, match me. The danger of the Diderot effect is not that the things are bad, it's that each purchase feels like the last one, the completing one, and it never is. A set has no natural end. There is always one more object that doesn't quite belong yet. So what did the wise do? Not nothing, something quieter than that. The first move is simply to see it. To feel that flicker of dissatisfaction, the rug suddenly looking thin, and to recognize it not as a fact about the rug but as the robe talking. The discontent is not information, it is an echo. The second is what some call Dideroting, deliberately keeping a few things that don't match, an old chair among new ones, a scuffed desk in a fine room, a deliberate imperfection that breaks the spell because it tells the room and you that you are not running a set. The third is the harder one. Before the upgrade, ask the honest question, what else will this quietly require? The phone that needs the case that needs the earbuds. Price the whole cascade, not just the first object. Most temptations get a great deal weaker when you make them confess their full cost. And the last move is the oldest one. Decide what is enough before the robe arrives, not after, because a standard set by your values holds. A standard set by your newest possession will rise forever, and you will spend your life chasing the back of it. Here is the part that should stay with you. Diderot got the robe, he got the desk, the chair, the art, the room, all of it, finally matching, finally complete. And what did he feel, standing in the middle of his beautiful, coordinated, expensive study? He missed the old robe. He wrote that under the old one he had been whole, it bent to him. The new one made him bend to it. He had traded a life that fit for a life he had to keep earning the right to live in. That is the quiet arithmetic of the Diderot Effect. Every upgrade promises to complete you. Most of them simply hand you a new and larger thing to maintain. So before you reach for the scarlet robe, the new car, the bigger house, the better phone, pause long enough to ask who will be the master and who will be the slave. If you'd like to keep sitting with ideas like this one, you're welcome here. There's a new essay twice a week. No noise, just the work of wanting less on purpose. Diderot had a wardrobe full of contentment. He gave it away for one beautiful thing that owned him. Wealth is not what you have, it's what you no longer need to chase. Until next time.